In this lecture, I am going to discuss two important parameters that are related to the eigenvalues and eigenvectors. As we know that for determining the eigenvalues, we have to solve the characteristic equation. The characteristic polynomial can have the distinct roots or it can also have repeated roots. So if we are solving a characteristic polynomial of the order 3 and we get two repeated roots, we can say that lambda 1 is equal to lambda 2 and one distinct root which is equal to lambda 3. Then the order of the repetition of the lambda is actually called the algebraic multiplicity. So order m lambda of an eigenvalue lambda as a root of the characteristic polynomial is called the algebraic multiplicity, and then the next term, which is the geometric multiplicity, can be defined as the number of the linearly independent eigenvectors corresponding to that lambda. Then we can see there is another term that is called the defect, and it is given as the difference of capital M lambda and small m lambda. So the difference between the algebraic multiplicity and the geometric multiplicity is called the defect of this lambda. For understanding the concept of these two terms, let's consider an example. So I have chosen a matrix that is given as A is equal to 0 1 0 0. So when we found its eigenvalues, then we came to know it is equal to 0. So lambda 1 and lambda 2 is equal to 0. Both roots are equal to 0. They are repeated roots. So the order of the repetition is equal to 2, which implies that capital M lambda is equal to 2 from here. Now I have to determine the eigenvectors corresponding to these eigenvalues. So for lambda is equal to 0, I solved the eigenvector of this system, and when I wrote the equation for the back substitution for determining the values of eigenvectors, so I have written as 0 dot x1 plus 1 dot x2 is equal to 0. So you know that this equation actually shows 0 multiplied by any non-zero value of x1 plus 1 multiplied by x2 should be equal to 0. So I can choose any non-zero value of x1, but the condition is x2 must be equal to 0 so that the both sides of the equations can be satisfied. So x1 can be any non-zero value from the real numbers and x2 must be equal to 0. So its eigenvector came out to be x1, x2 is equal to x1 some non-zero value and x2 is equal to 0. So I have determined the value of eigenvector corresponding to lambda 1 is equal to 0. Same will be the case when lambda 2 is equal to again 0 will be substituted. So here we have found only one eigenvector that is linearly independent is existing. So m lambda is equal to 1 because m lambda represents the number of the linearly independent eigenvectors corresponding to lambda or the eigenvalue of your system. So the defect came out to be 2 minus 1 is equal to 1. I hope it has cleared the idea of the concept of the algebraic multiplicity and geometric multiplicity. Now let's do an application of the eigenvalues, means what is the significance of eigenvalues and eigenvectors in our real life. Generally, it is said that the eigenvalues actually show or tell us the amount of the change in the given quantity or in the parameter, while the eigenvectors shows the direction of change, means in which particular direction that change is being introduced. For understanding the concept of these eigenvalues and eigenvectors in terms of the amount of change and the direction of change, I have chosen a very good example that will illustrate how we can use the idea of the eigenvalues and eigenvector for understanding this concept. So let's consider an elastic membrane which is of radius 1 and it is lying in the coordinate x1 and x2. Its equation of representation is x1 square plus x2 square is equal to 1. So an elastic membrane is represented like this, and any point on this will have the coordinates x1 comma x2. So let's say an amount of force was applied at any point P and it was stretched such that it reached to the point Q having the coordinates y1 and y2. Obviously this circular membrane is no more circular and it must has been reshaped. The problem is to identify which shape is it has obtained and how much it has been actually distorted. For understanding this, let's represent our new point which has the coordinates y1 and y2 in terms of this. So y1 is equal to 5x1 plus 3x2 and y2 is equal to 3x1 plus 5x2. The problem is to identify what is the principal directions and what is the shape this elastic membrane has obtained now. I will take the same approach. First of all, I will determine its eigenvalues. The same procedure will be followed that I have described in the previous video. I generated its characteristic equation, and from here I got two values, that is lambda 1 is equal to 8 and lambda 2 is equal to 2. So one stretch is 8 unit along and the second stretch is 2 unit along. This is the amount of change in the axis. Now the next step is to determine the direction of change. For determining the direction of change, I have to determine the eigen vectors corresponding to these two eigenvalues. For lambda 1 is equal to 8, I substituted the value of 8 in the previous matrix and then I solved it for the eigenvector corresponding to it. I applied simply Gauss elimination. From here I have obtained this form of the matrix. Alright, for finding the values of x1 and x2, I have performed the back substitution. So x1 came out to be x1 bar is equal to x2 bar, and from here I have chosen x2 is equal to 1, which implies x1 is also equal to 1. If I was interested to determine the principal direction, and I have just used the concept of the angle for in terms of x, y and y. So if we are given two components of a vector, then which direction they are actually represented can be determined by theta is equal to tangent inverse y over x. So if you will apply this formula, you will get the angle of rotation which is equal to 45 axis. So one of the principal directions is equal to 45 degree when the stretch is 8 unit along. For lambda 2 is equal to 2. Again I have followed the same procedure, and here I have determined the values of x1 double bar, x2 double bar, and the vector came out to be 1 comma minus 1, and it gave the direction or the another principal direction which is equal to 135 degree with respect to x1. So both of these directions have been given with respect to x1. So let's consider again our original shape. In the given original figure, we had a unit circle. It had some point. It was stretched such that it reached to another point Q having the components or the coordinates y1 comma y2. So the principal direction gives one axis at 45 degree and another axis gives at 135 degree. Alright, these are the two principal directions. The stretch along the first axis is equal to 8 unit and the stretch along the second axis is equal to 2 unit. Let me mark it over here. It is 2 unit and it is equal to 8 unit. Now what? Now I have to determine actually the shape after the stretch. So for this I will just do a little calculation more. Let's say that new coordinate, the point has actually given us the new coordinate, and the point can be represented as u1 is equal to r cos of phi and u2 is equal to r sin of phi. So any point on the circle in the new axis now can be represented as having the components cos of phi and sin of phi on the circle. That's why radius is equal to 1. Now z1 is equal to 8 cos of phi and z2 is equal to 2 sin of phi. These 2 points are actually on the new shape that it has actually transformed into, and we know that this trigonometric identity cos square phi plus sin square phi is equal to 1. So if I do write z1 over 8 ka whole square is equal to cos square of phi, and then z2 over 2 ka whole square is equal to sine square of phi, and then I will add up these two equations resulting in z1 over z1 square over 8 square plus z2 square is equal to 2 square, which is equal to 1, as cos square phi plus sine square phi is equal to 1. This is an equation of an ellipse. So finally we have determined the shape, means the circle was transformed into an ellipse after applying the stretch.